Heaven Official's Blessing. Chapter 29. Audio source: WuShoWorldAudiobook.com. Windmaster in white, bellowing sandstorms from nothing. Fu Yao's words were exceedingly rude, and Xie Lian unconsciously stepped forward to stand in front of San Lang. Seeing this, Fu Yao's face became even more severe. "Your Royal Highness, do you not remember your place?" "I know exactly where my place is," Xie Lian replied slowly. "Then how dare you still stand next to him?" Fu Yao shouted. "Because if I stand next to him, the snakes won't come," Xie Lian answered earnestly. Hearing the response, San Lang PFFT-ed and laughed out loud. Fu Yao became grimmer. Grimmer and grimmer. His face suddenly turned completely black, and it wasn't just his face but Xie Lian's entire line of sight dimmed into darkness. The curtain of flames and the ring of fire created by Fu Yao were suddenly completely extinguished. Xie Lian heard San Lang snicker and say useless, before gripping his shoulders to pull him close. Soon after, Xie Lian heard a sudden downpour of endless battering above them, like a thunderstorm hitting an umbrella. Needless to say, it was the snake deluge that came pouring down crazily now that the defense barrier was gone. The open umbrella was blocking the downpour, and Xie Lian could smell the thick, foul odor of blood. He was about to fight, but San Lang stopped him. "Don't move. No lowlives will dare approach." His tone was confident. The first sentence was soft and gentle, the latter had a layer of arrogance. Xie Lian wasn't worried, but hearing Fu Yao's angry roars at the other end, sounding as if he was getting covered in snakes, he called out, "San Lang!" San Lang instantly replied, "No." Xie Lian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "How did you know what I was going to say?" "Don't worry so much, he can't die," San Lang said. Just then, another roar came from a different part of the pit. "Such vileness! If you want me to die, then have them bite and kill me in one go." "What the hell is this?" "It's not me," Ban Yu cried. It seemed Kamo had woken from all the battering, discovered himself covered by countless snakes, and believed it to be Ban Yu's doing. "Fu Yao, can you light another fire?" "Do it again," Xie Lian shouted. Fu Yao said, gritting his teeth. "That shit next to you is restricting my powers. I can't light anything." Xie Lian felt dread, and San Lang said, "It's not me." "I know it's not you," Xie Lian said. "But that's precisely what's wrong. Both Ban Yu and Kamo are bound by the God-binding rope. They can't use their powers. My powers are depleted, and you're not restricting anyone, meaning there's a sixth person in this pit." "What sixth person?" Fu Yao demanded. "No one's come down after me." "I think you're being fooled." "Who's there?" Ban Yu suddenly said. "Ban Yu, what's happening?" "Is someone over there?" Xie Lian asked. "Someone?" Ban Yu's voice disappeared halfway. Whether her mouth was sealed shut, or she lost consciousness, was not known. Xie Lian called out again. "Ban Yu, are you alright?" Fu Yao was still fighting snakes, and was throwing spiritual energy everywhere, flashing here and there in the dark. "Be careful. She might be tricking you." Under any other circumstances, Xie Lian would suspect foul play too. But since the whole ordeal with the Ban Yu pass was a secret amongst the heavenly officials, and with Ling Wen's repeated warnings on top, things were definitely not that simple. That problems should arise now means if there really was an extra person in the pit, Xie Lian was afraid they're there to silence mouths. "Not necessarily," Xie Lian shouted. "I'm gonna save her first." Xie Lian was about to run into the snake deluge when he heard San Lang's voice next to his ear. "Alright." Xie Lian felt the hand grasping his shoulders tighten, and in a flash they were blitzing forward. Xie Lian realized in awe that the boy was advancing and attacking, but with an umbrella in one hand, and him in the other. In the darkness, silver shimmers flashed about once more, clanking and clinking, when suddenly, a sharp sound of two swords clashing rang in everyone's ears. "Oh," San Lang said, "there really is a sixth person. Interesting." Xie Lian had no idea how Sandler Lang was controlling the weapon, or what kind of weapon it was, but whatever it may be, it most certainly did come head-to-head with another. The other party remained silent, and Xie Lian could only hear sounds of metal scraping metal as the fight intensified. From time to time there would be sparks flashing in the dark, but each time it was so short-lived it was hard to see the other's face. Listening to the fight, Xie Lian could feel Rui grip tighter and tighter, and had to murmur reassurance. "Don't be scared, relax. Relax a bit." Rui loosened, and Xie Lian called out again. "Ban Yu, are you conscious? Can you respond?" No one responded, and Fu Yao said, "Maybe the one fighting now is her." "No, the one fighting is not Ban Yu," Xie Lian said. When San Lang fought Kamo into the dark, he was light-footed and messing about, playing with him. This fight was also into the dark, but Xie Lian could tell San Lang was taking it more seriously. The other party was extremely skilled in martial arts and weaponry. Ban Yu was small and weak. Just looking at her arms it was obvious power in arms were not her forte, so it was impossible for her to be fighting San Lang. Fu Yao clicked his tongue. Someone who would betray her own country is no different than Zanji. Why on earth would you still believe in her? Fu Yao, can you not be so irritated? Xie Lian said. Wait, what did you just say? Fu Yao struck out another fist, and blew away a bunch of snakes. I said, why on earth would you believe in her the same way you believe in that shit next to you? No, not that you mentioned Zanji. You said Zanji's name. Xie Lian said. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Xie Lian couldn't believe it took him this long to connect all the dots. Stop fighting, Xie Lian called out. There's no more need to hide. I know who you are. Upon his words, the swords halted for a moment but continued anew. Xie Lian patiently said, do you think I'm lying, little General Pei? Who are you talking to? Fu Yao said in disbelief. Little General Pei? Don't be crazy. Who do you think he is? If he descended everyone would know. You're very right, Xie Lian said. But if it wasn't his true self that descended? In the darkness, the fighting swords stopped. Xie Lian breathed and said soberly. It took me too long to figure this out. I should have known from the beginning. He knew that for close to 200 years there was something causing havoc, but none of the heavenly officials cared. And no one dared to speak of it, so there must be one or a number of officials keeping a wrap on this scandal. But he wasn't familiar with many of the officials, so he didn't dare to boldly pin this on anyone. Just now when Fu Yao mentioned Zanji, it reminded him. When it came to Zanji, it wasn't hard to relate her to the two General Peis, and the north was their territory. Fu Yao once said in passing that prior to his ascension, little General Pei slaughtered a city. Which city? It could very well be the Banyu Kingdom. The heavenly court wouldn't bat an eyelash at something like this. Everyone needed to spill some blood if they wanted to do great things. But slaughtering a city wasn't anything glorious after all. And if the story got spread too far it would affect the numbers of new believers, so of course there would be some cover-ups after ascension. Thus, even if everyone knew something of the sort happened, they probably didn't know the details or cared to know the details. Besides, if it wasn't for deep grudges, who'd had the time to care to dig up his past and offend the support behind his back? Xie Lian spoke slowly. That mudface had said there was someone amongst us who already visited the fortress 50 to 60 years ago. At first I thought he was lying to deceive us into approaching, but his words may very well contain truth. In that group of people, the one I was the most suspicious of was you. The caravan followed you, and you could take them anywhere. I have never seen a single scorpion-tailed snake in the years I lived nearby Banyu, and from just seeking a random shelter from the sandstorm, they happened to show up. I asked you to come look for the Shanyue fern with us, but just before we left you gave the directions of the ruins to the others so they could follow in our steps if they could no longer sit still. Earlier on top of the walls, I had already said if anything were to happen, I would go forward first. You who is always calm suddenly jumped, dying a meaningless death. Xie Lian continued after a pause. Your actions were strange and illogical, and it took me until now to realize who you are. Isn't that right, little General Pei? Or should I say, a Zhao? It was after a long dead silence before a voice coldly said, had you not suspect that the mud face might be talking about the red-clothed boy next to you? A stream of flames suddenly lit up across the sinner's pit. Under the light, two bloody silhouettes were revealed. One was San Lang, dressed in red, proper and standing with his weapon already tucked away. The other was a plainly clothed young man with a sword held tightly in hand, still at the ready. The plain-clothed young man was covered in blood, looking as if he was also dressed in red. His expression was cold and reserved, carrying someone over his shoulders. It was a Zhao. To be fair, whether it be little General Pei's true self or a Zhao, the composed, calm and collectedness never changed. Only Xie Lian had never gone down that train of thought, so he didn't connect the two. The one he was carrying over his shoulders was Ban Yu. It seemed he had called forth the snakes in order to steal her away during the chaos. Now that his identity was revealed, he had no more need to create havoc, and the snake deluge ceased bombarding. He sheathed his sword and gently laid Ban Yu down on the ground. On the side, Kamo was stunned. Who are you? Didn't you die in the fall? A Zhao didn't spare a look at Kamo, staring instead at San Lang vigilantly. Kamo, you really haven't changed in these hundreds of years, he said in Ban Yuanese. Perhaps the tone of this maddening calm was overly familiar. Kamo's face immediately scrunched up in rage. It's you, Pei Su. That's Liam. If not for the God-binding rope solidly tying him down, Kamo would have rushed him to fight. No wonder when the Ban Yu soldiers were cursing earlier, bitch was mixed in. Not because they were aiming at Xie Lian, but because he was a Midlander, and it reminded them of Pei Su, which in turn was connected to Ban Yu, so they were cursing her too. Did Ban Yu teach you how to control the scorpion-tailed snakes? Xie Lian asked. He had suspected that if Ban Yu really didn't control the scorpion-tailed snakes that were attacking passers-by, and there was no real reason why they don't obey anymore, then the only other explanation was there was someone else who could control them. When there are two people controlling the same group of snakes, then of course half of them won't listen to Ban Yu's commands. It's simple logic. She didn't, Pei Su said. But how she does it, I could very well learn for myself. Xie Lian nodded and said, Little General Pei is exceedingly intelligent. If I guessed right, you two have known each other for many years, correct? Ban Yu was bullied and ignored by other Ban Yu children when she was younger, and only the Midlands children played with her. Although Xie Lian didn't remember every single one of them, he did recall that many were from military families, and many also enlisted in the army when they grew older. Perhaps Pei Su was one of those kids. Otherwise it'd be hard to explain how an introverted, gloomy child like Ban Yu was able to make friends and cooperate with an enemy general. It was only a guess, but by Pei Su's reaction, he didn't guess wrong. Did Ban Yu really pass information to you, colluded with you, and opened the fortress gates? Xie Lian asked. It's true, Pei Su replied. On the other side, Kamo clicked his tongue and yelled. Cunning Pei Su. Untie the ropes, let me fight him to the death. Pei Su said coolly. First of all, we already had a battle to the death 200 years ago, and you lost. Second of all, how am I cunning? Kamo shouted. If you two didn't collude, how would we lose? Kamo, don't deny it, Pei Su said. I only had a troop of 2,000 with me at the time, but those 2,000 were far superior than your 4,000. Whether if the gates opened, you were doomed to be defeated. Xie Lian couldn't help but sympathize and thought, invading a country with a troop of 2,000? Was little General Pei bullied more than I was when he was in the army? He didn't think Pei Su was lying but thought it was strange anyhow, and asked, if it was a sure win, why collude with Ban Yu? Pei-su stopped minding Kamo and went back to using the Han dialect. To allow me to annihilate the kingdom. Everyone except Kamo was stunned. Xie Lian thought the whole ordeal was strange but still calmly continued his inquiries. What do you mean? Why must you annihilate the kingdom if victory was at hand? It was because victory was at hand that we had to wipe out the city, Pei-su said. Because the night before the invasion, there was a secret meeting between many of the major Banyu families that decided a plot. Whatever the reason, it was going to be shocking and disturbing, and Xie Lian furrowed his brows. What plot? Pei-su continued slowly. The people of Banyu were violent in nature, and hated the Midlanders to the bone. Even knowing they were about to be defeated, they wouldn't admit it. So the entire population of the kingdom, the young, the old, the women and the men, all banded together to assemble this thing. What thing? Xie Lian could guess but he wasn't sure, and the word that came out of Pei-su's mouth confirmed his suspicions. Explosives. Pei-su slowly enunciated each word. They had decided that if the kingdom was to fall, then the citizens will each carry explosives on their bodies, escape to the Midlands, mix into large crowded areas, and suicide bomb. Meaning if they must die, then they will drag as many Midlanders down as they can with them. If the kingdom should fall, then they shall terrorize the country that brought their downfall. Xie Lian instantly turned to Kamo, roughly summarized for him in Banyuanese, and asked, "Is this true?" Kamo looked dauntless and probably thought there was nothing wrong with that, and said with his head high, "It's true." Sanlang raised his brows and commented, "How vile." He said those words in Banyuanese, probably intentionally. Kamo replied angrily, "Vile? What right do you have to call us vile? If it wasn't for your assaults, we wouldn't be forced to make that move. You ruined us, so we sought revenge. How is that wrong?" Pei-su responded coolly, "Really now? How about we lay everything out in the open then?" He tilted his head and said, "How many times have Banyu started riots near the border? How many caravans and travelers going to the Westlands from the Midlands were ambushed by Banyu? You intentionally sheltered the bandits that terrorized the Midlands, and killed our soldiers that went to wipe them out under the pretense of illegal border crossing. How is that not vile?" Pei-su spoke unhurriedly and his tone was calm, but each word was sharp as knives. Kamo argued, "What about you? Why not say you forcibly occupied our land first? The border had always been ambiguous, so how can you say we forcibly occupied your land?" Pei-su countered, "The lines were clearly drawn. It was you who didn't keep to yourselves. The lines were drawn by Banyu. The Midlands had never agreed to it. And your border had the oasis all to yourselves, leaving only desert land to us. What nonsense." Kamo was red in the face. The oasis was ours. It had always been ours. Both sides had their stories. Just listening to them argue made Xie Lian befuddled. This hostility was making him remember how badly he got beaten up stuck in the middle of both sides, and he could feel the pain on his face resurface. Pei-su seemed to have had enough of quarreling with Kamo, and knocked him out once more with a punch. Then he turned to Xie Lian. "So you see." Pei-su took a deep breath. "There are many things in the world that simply can't be clearly defined or resolved. You can only fight." Xie Lian sighed. "I'll agree to the first part." Sanlang on the other hand said, I'll agree to the last part." Xie Lian watched Banyu, who was laid on the floor with her head down, for a moment and said, "I can't say who's right or wrong, so I won't say anything. No matter the reason why Banyu opened the gates, she opened them, and so must take responsibility for it. So that was why she was hung above the sinner's pit by those soldiers. Once they're dead, it's all over." Pei-su returned to his calm expression. "Yes. Whatever debt due while alive must be paid while alive. If there's still chaos after death, then that's a completely different story," Xie Lian stated. "Banyu did not cause havoc," Pei-su said quietly. Little General Pei, does that mean you admit to luring passers-by of the Banyu Pass into the ruins? Pei Su was quiet for a moment before saying in a low voice. Yes. Why? Xie Lian asked. This time Pei Su did not answer. Xie Lian pushed. It's been almost 200 years. You need to give the proper reason, an answer for the people that were lured in. Pei Su still remained silent and expressionless. He responded to every inquiry before, but now it seemed he had made up his mind, and stopped responding altogether. Xie Lian wanted to keep interrogating when just then, there was a strange sound. It came from above their heads, howling and moaning like crazed winds bellowing. When the sound came closer, Xie Lian could confirm it actually was crazed winds bellowing. The gusts came too suddenly, too aggressively, and before Xie Lian knew, his entire body was leaning, and he started floating. This abrupt gale entered the sinner's pit from above, swept all the way to the bottom, and rolled everyone into the air. Xie Lian immediately grabbed for San Lang, who was the closest to him, and cried, "Be careful!" San Lang caught him too, face unchanging. They spun in the air, their bodies swiftly rising, and once they were out of the pit, they stopped, and soon started falling. Xie Lian threw out Rue and coaxed him in the midst of this chaos. All right, everything's over. Hurry, my good Rue, come out and give us a hand." After 2 pets, Rue finally reacted. However, with nothing in the air to grab onto other than a giant sinner's pit below, Rue flew about once and shrunk back. Feeling helpless, Xie Lian could only adjust his form for landing in the air. If it was like previous times, he would have cratered headfirst 3 feet into the ground. But this time, just before they hit the ground, San Lang reached out and gave him a pull, and he actually landed with his feet flat on the ground. When his boots firmly touched ground, he was even a little incredulous. But that feeling went away real quick when a black-clad silhouette came stumbling before him. Xie Lian saw who it was and delightfully called, "Nanfeng." It was Nanfeng indeed, but a disheveled Nanfeng. It looked as if he was rolled in grime 10 times before getting thrown into a rambunctious den of beasts to spend the night. His clothes were tattered and bedraggled to the max. Hearing Xie Lian's call, he only waved his hand and quietly wiped at his face, unable to speak. Xie Lian lifted him to his feet. "What happened? Did those 2 ladies beat you up?" Just then, 2 figures appeared behind Nanfeng and strolled over. One of them was the woman cultivator in white with a whisk in her arms, and she greeted Xie Lian cheerfully. "How do you do, Your Royal Highness?" Although Xie Lian didn't know who this was, proper etiquette must still be kept. But he didn't know how to address her, so he could only smile back and wave. "Greetings, fellow cultivator." The lady in black on the side glanced at Xie Lian coldly but didn't seem to care for him. When her eyes moved on to San Lang, however, she paused, seeming to think he was a dubious figure, and watched him. The gusts earlier had blown everyone out of the pit, and the 2 ladies walked past Xie Lian, heading straight for Pei Su. He saw them approach and didn't appear surprised. After all, he had already seen them in town when he was still playing the part of a Zhao. He knelt down where he was, bowed his head to the lady cultivator in white, and called quietly, "Lord Windmaster." Xie Lian was stunned hearing those words. And here he thought she was some menacing demon or monster, who knew it was actually a heavenly official. And it was the Wind Master, the one that was throwing out 10,000 merits in one go in the spirit communication array. But now that he's thinking about it in detail, there wasn't anything out of place. At the time she was saying something along the lines of, "Where did they all go? Do I have to dig them out and kill them one by one?" And made him think she was after them. In reality, they might not have meant them. It could mean the Banyu soldiers. Only, Xie Lian thought he was alone in this investigation and naturally thought the lady cultivators were strange and wicked. To a heavenly official that could easily hand out 10,000 merits, Xie Lian couldn't help but feel a nameless reverence. He elbowed Nanfeng. Why didn't you tell me this was the Wind Master sooner? And here I thought she might be some sort of snake spirit or scorpion spirit. What a disgrace. Nan Feng's expression darkened. I didn't know it was the Wind Master. I've never seen the Wind Master like this before. The Wind Master had always been. Never mind. It sounded as if the Wind Master did not have the same appearance while in the heavenly court. No wonder. Xie Lian understood. He asked, how did the Wind Master come to the Banyu Pass? To help out, Nan Feng said. When we saw them strolling in the streets earlier, they were actually looking for those Banyu soldiers. Xie Lian recalled now that the first time he asked about the Banyu Pass in the spirit communication array. In the midst of silent awkwardness, it was the Wind Master's sudden release of 10,000 merits that distracted everyone. The Wind Master probably already took notice of his query then. As Xie Lian pondered, the Wind Master bent down in front of Pei Su. Little General Pei, what you've done this time may have crossed the line. As a heavenly official, that he would release a clone to cause havoc at the Banyu Pass for almost 200 years. Lure numerous passers-by down the wrong path and into the ruins, and die in the mouths of Banyu soldiers. No matter how he could spin it, it wasn't a small deal. Pei Su didn't argue, only lowered his head and said, this young one knows. The Wind Master swept a whisk. As long as you understand, reflect on yourself and think on it. We'll talk in the heavens. I understand, Pei Su said quietly. Finished with the talk with Pei Su, the Wind Master stuffed the whisk into the back collar of the robe, stood up, and smiled at Xie Lian. Your Royal Highness the Crown Prince. I've heard much about you. To Xie Lian, heard much about you really wasn't a compliment, but nevertheless it was meaningless pleasantries, so he smiled back. I'm sure it's nothing. I've heard much about you as well, Lord Wind Master. Sorry about before, by the way, the Wind Master said. Xie Lian paused. Before? What happened before? Didn't you all run into a windstorm in the desert? Xie Lian could remember the mouthfuls of sand and replied, yes, I started that, the Wind Master said. The Wind Master continued casually. That windstorm was meant to stop you all from going near the Banyu Kingdom, but you didn't get blown away, and ended up in Banyu anyway. Something didn't sound right. The Wind Master started a windstorm to block them from going to the Banyu Pass, but suddenly appeared again in the midst of it all. What did this mean? But Xie Lian didn't respond, biding to see what the other will say. After a pause, the Wind Master continued. But, in regards to this whole ordeal, I would recommend your highness to mind your own business and stop putting your hands where they don't belong. Xie Lian stole a look at Banyu, who's curled up on the ground, and dreaded. He was already worried that if this scandal was to reach the heavenly court, the officials could easily muck up the truth, add strokes to where there wasn't, and have Banyu take all the blame while little General Pei runs off scot-free. With Wind Master's sudden appearance, telling him not to mind this business, didn't this cement they will protect little General Pei? Without changing his expression, Xie Lian stepped forward to stand in front of Banyu, hiding her behind him, and said warmly, but I've already put my hands into this business, I can't possibly leave it now. Besides, there's still much little General Pei has yet to explain. The Wind Master noticed his gesture and smiled. Don't be concerned. You can take the head priestess of Banyu away with you. That was unexpected. Xie Lian was stunned, and the Wind Master continued. While you were all in the pit, we've heard everything from up here. Although the head priestess has turned into a menace, when I roamed the city I saw that she had drawn the array to trap the Banyu soldiers and released all the captured mortals. She didn't hurt anyone, and was even saving people. The only ones I'm taking are little General Pei and Kmo. You don't have to worry about me placing blames on anyone. Since the other party was this straightforward, Xie Lian stopped worrying and uttered an apology, but the Wind Master said, no, it's normal to worry. The lady in black looked as if she couldn't stay for another moment, and spoke up. Are you done? If you're done then let's go, the Wind Master rebutted. Tisk. What's the rush? The more you rush the more I want to talk. Still, she turned her head and smiled, taking out a folding fan from her waist and said, Your Royal Highness, if there's nothing else, we'll see you in the heavenly court. Xie Lian nodded, and the Wind Master opened her fan. On the fan was the word for wind, feng, in a slant, and 3 inkling lines like the wind on the back. This must be the Wind Master's spiritual device. She fanned forward 3 times, and backwards 3 times. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew from flat ground. The wind drew dust and sand, and Xie Lian used his sleeve to block off the debris. When the wind died down, the 2 ladies, Pei Su and Kei Mo, had all disappeared, leaving only Xie Lian, San Lang, Nan Feng, and the deeply asleep Ban Yu behind. Xie Lian dropped his sleeve, still a little dazed. What just happened? San Lang casually strolled over. A pretty good thing. Xie Lian watched him. Is it? Yes. The Wind Master was trying to help you by telling you not to get involved. Nan Feng walked over too. That's right. You've dug in too deep in this business already. The only thing left to do is to file a complaint to the Martial Heavenly Emperor. Don't get yourself involved anymore. Xie Lian got it. Is it because of General Pei? Correct, Nan Feng said. This time you have thoroughly offended him. Xie Lian laughed. I knew I was going to offend someone one of these days. I guess it doesn't matter who. Nan Feng furrowed his brows. Don't think I'm joking. Other than the Great Martial Hall, the next most powerful martial palace is Mingguang. General Pei thinks very highly of little General Pei and has always tried to boot Quan Yi-jun. He's gonna come knocking looking for trouble. Quan Yi-jun is the martial god that rules the West, right? Xie Lian asked. That's the one, Nan Feng replied. Quan Yi-jun is also a new official. He has ascended around the same time as Pei Su. He's young, and a little, but very powerful. General Pei wanted Pei Su to take all the devotees of the West, and he's done well for himself, especially these past few years. Now with you dragging this scandal out into the open, it's not looking good for Pei Su. Maybe he'll even be banished. If he gets banished, it's not gonna look good for you either. Xie Lian rubbed his forehead, mentally taking note that from now on he would have to be more mindful when eating, drinking, and walking. San Lang, however, didn't think it was a big deal. Don't worry. Pei Ming is too proud. He won't do anything underhanded. Nan Feng eyed San Lang and said, Yes, General Pei won't do anything shady, but still. Watch yourself. What about the Wind Master? Xie Lian asked. She told me not to get involved, so she's the one who will file the complaint? Doesn't that mean she'll be the one offending General Pei? I can't have that. Let's call her back. Nan Feng, do you know the password to her personal spirit communication array? You needn't worry about the Wind Master, Nan Feng said. General Pei can hurt you, but he won't touch her. She may be younger than you, but she's much more successful in the heavens. Xie Lian wasn't shocked into silence, but was instead thinking, who in the heavens is more of a failure than me? I don't think there's anyone. San Lang laughed. With that backing, of course she's successful. Are you talking about the lady in black? Xie Lian asked. No, San Lang replied. But she should also be one of the 5 elemental masters that make up wind, water, rain, earth, thunder. Probably shouldn't offend her either. The Wind Master could start a twister from nothing, obviously powerful. But the lady in black was stronger. Xie Lian recalled the way she watched San Lang as if she'd found out something, and felt rather concerned. I agree. But still, there were words that Xie Lian swallowed. He thought, even with a strong backing you may not be successful. Back in the day, the Prince of Xianle had the support of the martial Heavenly Emperor who ruled all 3 realms for 1,000 of years. He was still a failure. Xie Lian picked up his fallen bamboo hat, dusted it, seeing that it wasn't flattened, and breathed in relief. He tied it back around his neck and really looked at Nan Feng. Were you fighting with the 2 ladies all this way? Yes. We fought the entire way, Nanfeng replied, face dark. Xie Lian patted his shoulders. Thanks for your hard work. Suddenly, he remembered there was another one who worked hard, and turned around. Where's Fu Yao? Wasn't he watching the wounded? Nanfeng responded. Xie Lian didn't recall seeing Fu Yao after getting blown out of the sinner's pit. Actually, ever since Zhao revealed himself, there had been no more sounds from him. If he didn't leave back then, he must have left when the wind blew. Fu Yao could take care of himself. Xie Lian wasn't worried, but hearing Nanfeng say, wounded, he came to in shock and both cried at the same time. The Shanwei fern. The sky only just lightened. No rush, San Lang said. There is no such thing as no rush when it came to saving lives. Even if it was far from being 24 hours, who knows if anything should happened in all that time. Xie Lian had no time to think about Fu Yao. He hurriedly carried Ban Yu on his back and ran towards the palace grounds. Once at the palace, Xie Lian laid Ban Yu down, and immediately picked a few large bushels of the Shanwei fern. That mud face was still on the ground, its face a bloody mess amongst its white bones. In the past, Xie Lian would have buried it, but first, he's in a hurry to save people, and second, that man was buried in the ground for 50 to 60 years, he must not want to go back. But the corpse of the dead merchant was missing, and Xie Lian stopped, curious. Just then San Lang emerged from the palace with a small clay pot. Xie Lian saw him and smiled. Bless you, San Lang. The unhuman creatures could all be kept in clay pots. Ban Yu was weak and wouldn't wake up, so Xie Lian shrank her and tucked her into the pot. The group of them continued to collect the ferns and rushed back. It had been about 8 hours since they left. Returning to where Fu Yao had drawn the circle, Xie Lian saw that many were still within it, scared to venture out. The old man who had taken Nanfeng's pill was doing all right, and after applying the herb on his wound, he was able to stand and walk after resting for a while. Only, Xie Lian didn't think there was any need to tell them what the herb used to grow on. After some time, the merchants were all pacified, and started wondering where Tian Sheng's group had gone and why they hadn't returned. Xie Lian was too busy picking herbs earlier and didn't bother with Tian Sheng and the others. He was just thinking about going back to the ruins to search for them when he heard the voice of a boy yelling "Ge and uncles" coming closer. Xie Lian turned his head, and sure enough it was Tian Sheng. The boy had the large bushel of the Shanwei fern in his arms, and behind him were 2 other merchants, all huffing and puffing. Turns out, while on top the walls of the sinner's pit, Ban Yu swept the soldiers down, and captured Tian Sheng and the merchants. They were terrified, but Ban Yu only led them down from the pit, and directed them where to go before sending them on their way. They escaped, picked the herbs, buried the dead merchant's body, and ran back, yet still somehow was slower than Xie Lian. In any case, Xie Lian escorted the caravan out of the Gobi Desert, and ended this journey. Before they bid farewell, Tian Sheng snuck out to find him and whispered mysteriously, "Xie, I've a question for you." "Ask away," Xie Lian said. "You're a god, right?" Xie Lian was astonished. In the past, there was a time when he'd holler and announce to the world, "I'm a god. I am the crown prince, your royal highness." And no one would believe him. This time, he hadn't even said anything and the other party asked if he was a god, deeply surprising him. Tian Sheng added immediately, "I saw you use spells. Don't worry, I won't tell." "How would you even tell? No one would believe you." Xie Lian thought. Tian Sheng continued, "If not for you, I would have gotten thrown into that pit by those ugly demon soldiers. When I get home I'll build you a temple and worship you." Xie Lian watched him pat his chest and make very big hand gestures, and couldn't help but let out a laugh and smiled. Then, "Thank you." Although children have no idea just how much work went into constructing a temple, nevertheless, receiving such a promise, fulfilled or not, was still a happy occasion. Xie Lian waved and walked in the opposite direction. Nanfeng drew another distance-shortening array and sent them all back to Puqi Shrine. Opening the door, Xie Lian took the straw mat out, laid it open on the ground, and collapsed on it like a dead body. This was done all in one breath. Sanling sat himself down next to him, hand propping up his chin, and watched him. Xie Lian sighed. "How long were we gone?" "Around 3-4 days," Sanling replied. Xie Lian sighed again. "Only 3-4 days. Why am I so tired?" Ever since he ascended, he was always worked to the bone like a dog, no lie. After he was done sighing, Xie Lian looked up. Nanfeng? Why haven't you reported back yet?" "Report back where?" Nanfeng asked. "Aren't you the junior official of Nanyang Palace? Won't your general miss you after 3-4 days?" "My general isn't in the palace right now, so he won't miss me," Nanfeng replied. Xie Lian rolled over and got up. "Alright, it'll be good if you stay." "What are you doing?" Nanfeng asked. Xie Lian looked at him cheerfully. "I'm gonna cook you a meal. As a reward for your hard work." Nanfeng's face changed immediately. He raised his hand, pressed 2 fingers together, and touched his temple, as if receiving someone's private communication. He up and turned. "There's an emergency at the palace, I'll see you later." Xie Lian waved his hand. "What?" "Nanfeng, don't go." "How can there suddenly be an emergency? I really want to thank you for everything." "There's an emergency," Nanfeng roared, and ran out the door. Xie Lian sat back down on the mat and looked at Sanlang. "I guess he's not hungry." There was a loud bang before Sanlang could reply, and it was Nanfeng who came back, having slammed open the door in a rush. "You two." Xie Lian and Sanlang were sitting together on the mat and both raised their heads to look at him. "What about us too?" Nanfeng pointed his finger at Sanlang, then at Xie Lian, his words stuck in his throat, unable to speak. Then finally, "I will be back." "You're very welcome to," Xie Lian said. Nanfeng gave Sanlang one last stink eye before leaving. Xie Lian crossed his arms, tilted his head like Sanlang, and said, "Looks like there really was an emergency." He turned to look at the boy next to him and smiled cheerfully. "He's not hungry. How about you?" Sanlang smiled cheerfully back. "I'm starving." Xie Lian stood up again, turned around to clean the altar table, and said, "Alright then. What do you want to eat, Wachang?" Behind him, there was silence. Then chuckling, "I still prefer the name Sanlang." End chapter.